The village of Ravenshollow had always been an eerie place, nestled between the towering Blackthorn Forest and the mist-covered moors. It was a place where the crows never ceased their cries, and the wind howled like the wailing of lost souls. Generations had passed down the tale of the witch who once lived on the outskirts, deep within the cursed woods. It was said that she had been wrongfully accused and burned at the stake, but with her dying breath, she had cursed the village, vowing vengeance on all who dared to dwell there. As the years went by, strange occurrences plagued Ravenshollow. Farmers awoke to find their livestock brutally mutilated, their entrails scattered across the fields. Children vanished into the forest, their bodies never recovered. Those who ventured too close to the ruins of the witch's cottage swore they heard whispers on the wind, an eerie lullaby that chilled them to the bone.
Superstition ruled the lives of the villagers, and no one dared to step outside after dark. But on one fateful autumn night, a group of skeptical villagers decided they had had enough of the fear that shackled them. Among them was Thomas, a young blacksmith's apprentice with a fiery spirit, his older brother Edgar, a stoic hunter, and Miriam, the herbalist's daughter, whose curiosity often led her into places she did not belong. They were joined by Father Samuel, the village priest, and old man Gregor, the storyteller who knew the history of Ravenshollow better than anyone else. As they made their way toward the Blackthorn Forest, the wind picked up, carrying with it the scent of decay. The twisted trees loomed over them like skeletal hands, their gnarled branches clawing at the sky. Shadows danced in the dim light of their lanterns, and an unnatural silence blanketed the forest, save for the occasional rustling in the underbrush. "Are you sure about this?" Miriam whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of her own heartbeat. "We have to know the truth," Thomas replied firmly. "We can't keep living in fear of something that may not even exist." Old man Gregor chuckled darkly. "Oh, she exists, boy. The question is whether she still lingers." The group pressed on, the path winding deeper into the woods. The trees seemed to close in around them, the air growing heavier with each step. Then, suddenly, they saw the ruins of the witch's cottage. The structure had long since crumbled, leaving behind only the skeletal remains of its walls and a single, towering stone chimney, blackened with age. Vines coiled around the broken beams, and the earth itself seemed to reject the place, as if trying to swallow it whole. Father Samuel muttered a prayer under his breath as they crossed the threshold. The air inside the ruins was thick with dust and the scent of mold, but beneath it lay something foul, something rotten. A large, gnarled oak tree stood at the heart of the ruins, its bark scorched as if by fire. Hanging from one of its branches was an old, tattered noose. "This is where they hanged her," Gregor murmured, his eyes glistening with something between reverence and fear. "She didn't burn like the others. The flames wouldn't take her. So they hung her from this very tree and watched as the life drained from her eyes." A gust of wind rushed through the ruins, and the group shivered as the temperature plummeted. The lanterns flickered, and in that brief moment of darkness, a whisper echoed through the air. "You should not have come." Miriam gasped, clutching at Thomas's arm. "Did you hear that?" Before anyone could answer, the ground beneath them trembled. The wind howled louder, carrying with it the sound of distant laughter, high-pitched, shrill, and inhuman. The news swayed as if something unseen had just been cut down from it. "We need to leave," Edgar said, his voice tense. "Now." But it was too late. The forest had already come alive, and something was watching them from the darkness. The lanterns flickered violently, their weak glow barely holding against the suffocating darkness that surrounded them. The laughter had ceased, replaced by an eerie silence that pressed against their ears, making them hyper-aware of every breath, every heartbeat. Thomas tightened his grip on Miriam's trembling hand. "Stay close," he whispered, though the fear in his voice betrayed his attempt at courage. A sudden rustling in the underbrush sent Edgar raising his hunting knife. "Something's out there," he muttered. Gregor exhaled slowly, his gaze fixed beyond the ruins. "Not something. Someone." A shadow moved between the trees, swift and silent. Then another. And another. Faint whispers wove through the air, words too distorted to understand. The villagers instinctively formed a tight circle, backs pressed together as their eyes darted through the growing gloom. "Who's their father?" Samuel called, lifting his cross. "Show yourself." The whispers stopped. The air turned heavy. And then a single voice, low and rasping, drifted from the darkness. "You came to me. Now I come to you." The forest erupted into chaos. A gust of wind sent their lanterns shattering against the stones. The darkness swallowed them whole, and with it came an unnatural chill that seeped into their bones. Shadows slithered like tendrils through the ruins, wrapping around their legs, their arms, their throats. Miriam screamed as icy fingers brushed against her skin, pulling her backward. Thomas lunged, grabbing her by the waist, yanking her free from the unseen grasp. Edgar swung his knife blindly, slicing through the empty air where moments ago, he could have sworn he saw something staring at him. Father Samuel fell to his knees, chanting in Latin, his voice shaking. Gregor clutched his chest, gasping. "She's here," he wheezed. "She never left." The shadows deepened, closing in. And then, from the darkness, two glowing red eyes emerged, staring hungrily at them. The witch had returned. The first to fall ill was old man Roderick, the village blacksmith. His arms, once strong from years of forging iron, became riddled with painful boils overnight. The villagers gathered around his bed, whispering prayers, but none could deny the creeping dread in their hearts. They had seen sickness before, but nothing like this. His skin darkened, his breath turned to ragged gasps, and his once clear eyes sunk into hollow shadows. By the third night, he stopped speaking altogether. Then, others followed. Eleanor, the baker's wife, awoke screaming as her body burned with fever. her nails blackened and cracked, and strange symbols twisting, jagged, and unfamiliar appeared on the wooden door of her cottage, as though burned into the grain. No one had seen who had done it, nor heard the scrape of a knife or chisel against the wood. "The witch has marked her," the villagers whispered in fear. More doors bore the same markings the next morning, and with each symbol came a new victim. The people of Hollowbrook had long told tales of the witch who dwelled in the dark woods beyond the village. Some claimed to have seen her shadow at dusk, others swore they had heard whispers carried on the wind. But none had dared to seek her out until that fateful night when the village council, led by Edgar Marsh, had decided to end the old superstitions and investigate the abandoned cottage. That had been 2 weeks ago. And now, one by one, the men who had stepped into that cursed place were falling to an unseen curse. Edgar himself was next. He had stood strong at the meeting, declaring the witch long dead and forgotten. But now he lay on his deathbed, his skin stretched thin over his bones, his lips cracked and dry. His family wept as he shivered, raving in his fever, speaking of clawed hands and whispers in his ear. "She sees me," he gasped to his wife. "She sees all of us." The vanishings. As the sickness took hold of the village, an even greater horror unfolded. The first to vanish was young Thomas, barely 14. His mother had left his side for mere moments to fetch water, only to return to an empty bed. The only sign of him was a scattering of ash on the floor, as though his body had been burned to nothingness. By morning, 2 others had vanished in the same manner. Their families woke to empty rooms, to the scent of smoke hanging in the air. Panic spread like wildfire. Father Aldrich, the village priest, called for immediate action. "We have angered something beyond our understanding," he declared. "This is no ordinary illness, no natural plague. We must seek forgiveness. We must cleanse this evil from our land." The villagers, desperate and afraid, turned to the one course of action they knew. The witch must be found. Armed with torches and rusted weapons, they gathered at the edge of the woods. "No one enters alone," said Harold, the town watchman. "We stay together. If she is real, she will not take us all." The deeper they went, the more the forest seemed to change. The air grew thick, stifling. A strange, humming noise vibrated in their ears. Trees bore marks claw-like, deep, and deliberate. Then, they found the cottage. The door stood open, as though inviting them inside. The air within smelled of rot and something darker. Strange symbols covered the walls, mirroring those found on the villagers' doors. A single candle burned in the center of the room, though there was no one there to light it. And then they saw it, the shadow in the corner, watching. The witch had been waiting.